Nice to see you. Thanks for being here again today. Two quick updates, and just briefly wanted to share that I've had the opportunity to meet with some chronic pain patient stakeholders, advocates, in the interim, including some feedback I received about our draft working document. And I wanted to relay some of the messages that I got during that meeting that I think are important for this task force consideration today and as we continue to complete the rest of our guidelines. So there's really four main points that I just wanted to highlight to you today. There are some changes to the document and areas for us to consider when we dive into the working document, and I'll try to highlight them when we're there too, but I just wanted to give you an overview at the beginning. So one of the themes of the feedback I got first was looking at the draft as it stood at the last meeting. The perspective was that the document thus far really indicates, again, in the perspective from the stakeholders, that everybody is being pushed to taper opioids. I know that in our last conversation, and we added to the current working draft, there's a statement that not everybody needs to be tapered. But the perspective was that the document and, frankly, the environment that we live in is a really strong push that everybody must be tapered. And what was felt to be missing more from the paradigm of the document was also a recognition that people deserve good pain management. And so there was a request to provide a little bit more balance in that when you step away from the document. Again, I'll highlight an area we added to see if that meets what you guys would appreciate in this document. Secondarily, there is a section on the same note, but a section we all worked on fairly early on that is consider tapering when, and we identified a bunch of bullet points. And the concern relayed to me was that this section in particular could probably be pulled by providers in a rush in their practice as a fairly black and white list. And that there's potential for unintended consequences if the context that I think my perspective has come out in the rest of our conversation in the document around the intent for shared decision making, that these perhaps scenarios are ones by which providers should do further engagement with the provider, assess risk and benefits, reassess risk and benefits, and decide whether those are appropriate to taper or not together with the patient. But the concern was the way we currently have it formatted is that could just literally be a pulled list as a checkbox for tapering. And so when we're thinking about the final context of the document to make sure that, to the best we can, that misuse or unintended consequences of the use of the document could be fixed through the way we word and organize the work. The third point that was brought to my attention on that list of to consider tapering when, we have had some list of mental health conditions, and I don't have the prior old draft in front of me right now, but it was the concern that you all conveyed about that individuals with particular mental health conditions could be worsened, their experience or conditions could be worsened by the use of opioids. We have actually, from your conversation at last meeting, updated that language a bit, but the concern conveyed to me was if someone felt that having a mental health condition like depression or anxiety was a de facto reason for tapering, that patients may be unlikely to share with you that they're suffering from those mental health conditions, which is clearly not the outcome of good patient care that we're looking for. So to be cautious as we're wording and considering inclusion of that criteria to consider tapering when, to make sure that we're not having that unintended consequence. And then finally, there was just an overall request to consider the impact of stigma as it relates to people who experience chronic pain or are utilizing opioids to manage their chronic pain as we're finalizing this document. So those were four takeaways that I thought were really important to share with you all today. Again, you'll see a couple of things that have changed that we will specifically highlight. One that was a response to this that I'll make sure you note for your consideration, whether to keep or change or do differently. Any questions about that before I move on with one more update? Okay, and Roger, I'm actually going to put you on the spot. It came to my attention since our last meeting that there was a pending publication that you and your colleagues were going to have. I believe it was being published today, and so I just wondered, instead of me providing that update, if you wanted to speak to that just briefly.
Nice.
Yeah, sure.
Good, Dana.
It was published today in Annals of Internal Medicine. It's an ideas and opinion piece on opioid tapering. I wrote it with a couple of folks who have been working with the Oregon Pain Guidance Group on some of the tapering and other stuff. So Jane Valentine at UW and Hannah Lemke at Stanford. Yeah, I mean, I can give a brief summary. I mean, it's just it's a 1,000-word thing. It's not very long, but it kind of talks about what we need to, some things that are needed to achieve effective, safe, compassionate tapering. We kind of talk about the importance of implementing protocols and incentivizing tapering properly. We do talk about kind of the need to assess patients, and we say just like, the CDC, every guideline says, you don't need to taper everybody, but that message, doesn't always get transmitted, but that's, we talk about that as well as the need to do slow tapers sometimes. There's a section in there that really focuses on this issue of prescription opioid dependence and whether it's a distinct entity, which we argue it is, that it was taken out of DSM-5, perhaps for not good reasons, kind of the idea that prescription opioids don't cause problems, that having tolerance and dependence are not issues, and we argue that a lot of people, and at least in some patients who you try to taper, they don't meet criteria for opioid use disorder, but they have persistent withdrawal and difficulty tapering. They don't exhibit any of the behaviors we normally see with addiction, using illicit opioids and compulsive, behaviors and stuff, but they're really suffering from the taper, and we would argue that these are patients who exhibit prescription opioid dependence, and then we also argue that buprenorphine should be used in these patients and not be an off-label indication, as it currently is. So anyways, I think those are the main things. There is a tapering algorithm that we pretty much borrowed from the Oregon Pain Guidance Group, but it's now published in a journal.
Great.
There it is.
Thanks for the on-the-spot overview. Anybody from the task force have any questions for Roger? We will make sure to provide you the link to that information, but it just got published today, so we can do that in advance. Any questions for Roger or discussion?